Hey there, friends. This is Dr. Russ in Portland, Oregon. Today I want to talk to you about a subject that is pretty dear to me, but I don't talk about it on my channel because I'm not an acupuncturist and I'm not a Chinese doctor. I feel like my interest is big, but my knowledge is actually relatively pretty small in this area of qi and energy flow and meridians and acupuncture points and how all that stuff works. I will say I think about it all the time when I'm working with patients, but I don't really talk about it very much, again, because it's really not my wheelhouse. But in response to viewer Corey, hi Corey, I'm going to talk about this subject. But again, I want to acknowledge, I'm not an acupuncturist. Obviously, I'm a Western person. I first learned about this whole system in my first initial foray into bodywork 33 years ago. My very first massage course was a shiatsu massage. And shiatsu is Chinese medicine using hands and thumbs and elbows and stretches instead of acupuncture and herbs. And I loved it. I was fascinated by it. I think that the idea of the body as a machine, which is kind of our Western idea, if all the parts fit together and are well lubricated and have enough fuel, everything works great. Okay, that's one way to look at it. Let me offer another way, which is the body as a garden, is a system where all the microbes depend on the nutrients and the nutrients depend on the microbes, and the plants feed the microbes and the plants depend on the microbes, and we need soil and we need sunlight and we need air and we need water, but not too much water because then the roots drown, and not too much air because the wind knocks things over, and not too much sunshine or things get too hot and dry up. That's how I think about us. I mean, we might not want to act like it, but we are part of nature. We are mammals. The bacteria that live in your body outnumber you. So who's living in who anyway? We exist within the system of the ecology that created everything. And that ecology exists within us too. And what I like about this system is that it's based on that. It doesn't just acknowledge that, it grew out of that. Now, don't ask me how people came up with this. This is thousands of years old. I obviously cannot read the records. I don't know. I just know what people told me, what Westerners told me, what some Chinese folks have told me, because I used to work at National University of Natural Medicine, where they have a doctoral program in Chinese medicine, and interacting with the students, interacting with the staff there. You pick things up as well, and also reading. That's where all my knowledge comes from. All I know is that this system was created through observation of the natural world and observation of the inner world of the Taoist monks who created this. It evolved over generations and generations of people doing nothing but thinking about this. So I also think it's an incredible testament to human ingenuity and creativity, and a testament to our desire to make sense of the world around us. I am not here to convince you that this is real. That's not the purpose of this video, and that's not really my way anyway. I'm going to offer you this thing, this way of thinking, this way of looking at the world, and you decide how it fits for you, and you decide whether you think it's real or not. So let's start from the premise that qi is the animating force that lives in all living things. It's what separates a twig on the ground from a tree growing. It's what separates a corpse or cadaver from a living human. It is both created by us and creates us at the same time. And we'll see this kind of reciprocity and inverse relationships is kind of woven throughout all of Chinese medicine. So qi is everywhere. Qi is in all of your body. Qi is in the air. Qi is in the ground. In your body, qi suffuses every cell. Qi is everywhere that you are. And some would even say that it extends beyond your body. And certainly you can measure electromagnetic energy generated by a person's heart or other cells or brain off of the body. And how far off? Well, that depends on how sensitive your instruments are. But just like there's groundwater in the earth and streams on the surface of the earth, there are streams and rivers of qi on our skin and in our subcutaneous tissues, and those are the meridians. So you see the diagrams and the three-dimensional figures of the people with all the lines on them and the points on all the lines. The lines are the meridians and the points are the acupuncture points. And I like to think of the lines as representing streams and rivers where the groundwater of qi in the body is accessible and visible and palpable on the surface of the body. The acupuncture points are like access points to the river. They're places that you can get in and interact with the flow. If we continue this metaphor of the qi as water existing in the ground and flowing through the streams, you can have an obstruction in the flow of water. You can have an obstruction in the flow of qi. What causes an obstruction in the flow of water in a river, a rock, a mudslide, a tree falls, something changes the course of a river. If you like rivers like me, I love rivers, I love rafting. Anywhere that the flow gets narrower, you're going to get a change in the velocity and you're going to get some turbulence around that area. And the same thing happens in our body. Scar tissue, injury, joints being misaligned, muscles being really tight, and really anything that would obstruct the flow of blood will obstruct the flow of qi. And here's another one of these reciprocal relationships. Qi moves the blood and the blood carries the qi. These two things are not inseparable in the Chinese medical thought. These two things go together. Blood and qi move together. Qi pushes blood, blood carries qi. Downstream from any obstruction, you're going to get a deficiency. You're going to get a decrease of flow. And upstream from an obstruction, you're going to get an excess. So there can be a structural obstruction like a displaced vertebra in the neck, which would create changes in the flow of qi and blood through that part of the body. You can also have internal imbalances creating changes in the flow of qi, and I'll describe that a little bit more soon. But let's talk about this excess and deficiency because this is a key component to acupuncture and Chinese medicine. We want our energy to be balanced. We want our qi to be flowing very, very easily and unobstructed. If there is an obstruction, you're going to get an imbalance. It's just that's the way that it is. Downstream from the obstruction, deficiency. Upstream from the obstruction, excess. Excess will present itself as swelling, pain, hotness, overactivity. So hypertonic muscles, tight muscles, hot pain, sharp pain, really like acute pain. That's all a sign of excess metabolism, excess qi, upstream from an obstruction. Downstream, you get the deficiency, and symptoms of deficiency are tiredness, coldness, lack of energy, lack of function. So like a weak muscle might be related to an obstruction upstream in the flow of qi. So that muscle's not getting enough qi to do its work, and those muscle cells cannot metabolize because they're not receiving enough energy. In addition to this deficiency and excess concept, we also have overarching the whole thing are the 5 elements. So there's 5 elements which are different facets or different faces or different expressions of qi. It's all one qi, but it can express itself in different ways in different tissues, in different plants, and different animals, in different parts of your body. And those 5 elements of Chinese medicine are wood, earth, metal, water, and fire. Wood, earth, metal, water, and fire. Each of those has 2 organs, actual internal organs that is associated with, as well as a mental emotional side, except for the fire element, which has 4 organs, so we'll talk about that last. Let's go through these one by one. The wood element represents growth, new tissue, healing, breaking new ground, creativity, creating new things. Think of how trees and plants grow out of the ground, out of water and thin air. They are very creative and they're really creating soil and creating air for us to breathe. The wood element, creation, metabolism, motivation, and also anger. Earth, the organs are the stomach and the spleen. These are organs of digestion and assimilation. It's not enough to bring the food in. You have to spread it out and distribute it to the cells and the tissues that need it. The emotional side of the earth element is care, compassion, and worry, connection to our fellow humans. That comes from the stomach and the spleen, that earth element, that earth that nourishes us all, the earth that connects us all, the earth where we all came from and where we're all eventually going to. Next is metal. The organs of metal are the lung and the large intestine, which are organs of elimination. The large intestine eliminating solid waste, the lung eliminating gaseous waste. And just because everything in Chinese medicine is reciprocal, these are also organs of absorption. Through our lungs, we absorb air, obviously, and through our large intestine, we absorb water. A lot of the water that you drink winds up being absorbed in the end in the large intestine. The next element is water. The organs corresponding to water are the kidney and the bladder. These are obviously organs of excretion and fluid balance. The emotional side of the water element is fear and dread. Not just concern, but outright fear and fright. And finally, that brings us to fire. The organs of fire are the heart and the small intestine. And like I said, there are 4 total organs for the fire element. The pericardium, which is the sac that holds the heart, known as the heart protector, and the triple burner, which is not an actual organ, but is a metaphorical organ that rules over our metabolism. It's called the triple burner because we have 3. The chest, the solar plexus, and the lower abdomen and pelvis. The 3 areas of metabolism. Some folks who like to correlate organs in Western medicine and organs in Eastern medicine like to say that the triple burner is really related to the thyroid. And the thyroid gland really does rule very much over our things like our metabolism and our body temperature. So those are our 5 elements, but I forgot to say the emotions of fire are joy and happiness and love, seated in the heart and in the small intestine. We have a yin side and a yang side, the yin being the deep, the dark, the solid, the dense, the yang being the uplifting, the light, the open, the airy, the warm. And so every pair of organs has a yin and a yang, where the yin organ is the dense organ and the yang organ is the empty organ. So in wood, liver and gallbladder, the liver is dense. The liver is dense and the gallbladder is empty. It's a sac for the bile or the stuff that the liver makes. The heart is dense, is full of blood. Small intestine is open. It's a tube that food has to pass through. The lung is dense. The large intestine is empty. The spleen is dense. The stomach is empty. And so all of these interplay with each other and interplaying with the 2 main forces of qi, which are the yin and the yang. And we've all seen the yin-yang symbol, which shows the interplay and the interpenetration of these. And so this is how our organs work. They are all constantly involved in this dance of interplay in these 2 cycles, the creation cycle and the destruction cycle. Some people like to call it the nourishment cycle and the constraint cycle. Either way, basically what it's saying is that elements feed each other and constrain each other. And so our organs work together in this way to keep us balanced and healthy. Let's start by talking about this creation cycle or this nourishment cycle, starting with wood. Wood feeds fire. If you want fire, you burn wood. In that way, the organs of the wood element, the liver and the gallbladder, support and nourish and feed the organs of the fire element, the heart and the small intestine. Heart and small intestine activity depend on support and health in the liver and gallbladder. If the liver and gallbladder are deficient and sluggish, the heart and small intestine are going to lose their support and they're going to start to dysfunction as well. Which system the symptoms will show up in will depend a lot on the other interplay of the elements, as well as the person's internal, external environment, and their constitution. Fire feeds earth. As the wood is burned, ash is created that nourishes the soil. So as the wood nourishes the heart and the small intestine, the heart and the small intestine nourish the stomach and the spleen of the earth element. The earth nourishes metal. As deep in the earth, those forces of gravity and heat and pressure will cause the earth to coalesce and become denser and into regular crystalline structure that is the hallmark of the metal element. And just like that, the stomach and the spleen support those metal organs of the lung and the large intestine. The metal element feeds water. As you think about a stream or a spring bursting forth out of a rock outcropping, that's where the water is created, deep, deep in the earth, in the metal, in the metal element is the creation of the water element. And then the water feeds the wood. And again, the wood feeds the fire. So we have our creation cycle: wood, fire, earth, metal, water, wood. Now, there's also that constraint or destruction cycle, which let's talk about that, because every element feeds another element and also constrains another element. It's very much like a parent-child relationship. Nourish, nurture, guide, also restrain, redirect. It's bedtime. Calm down, sit down, eat your food, right? You have to tell your child to sit still to eat their food. So you're constraining and nourishing them at the same time. I just love how this stuff all plays together. So let's start with the water element in our constraint cycle. Obviously, water quenches fire. So those water organs of the bladder and the kidney keep the heart and the small intestine in check, and the fear element keeps the joy in check. If you had no fear, you would be in danger. So the fear protects you, and it does tamp your joy down somewhat, but it also prolongs your life and keeps you well. Fire melts metal. Metal cleaves wood. If your garden's overgrowing, you take a blade to it. If your forest is overgrowing, you cut it down. If you need wood for a fire to keep yourself alive, hopefully you have a metal axe to split that wood into burnable logs. So metal cleaves wood. Wood constrains earth. Think about the roots of a tree holding the soil to keep it from eroding and at the same time breaking up that soil. And finally, the earth constrains water. Think about a lake. It's a whole bunch of water, or even the ocean, that is constrained by the earth, or if you prefer, a ceramic bowl, which is made of earth, holding water. So we have that destruction cycle as well. So let's say we have some depletion in the liver, and our wood element is depleted. Well, wood feeds fire. And so as the wood element depletes, so over time, the fire element will deplete. It will try to maybe draw energy from another system, or it might cause a person to smoke and try and get more heat into their body, or really attracted to hot food, spicy food, greasy food. And sometimes those cravings are used by Chinese doctors as a key to what kind of imbalances are going on inside the person's body. At the same time as that wood element is failing to nourish the fire element, it's also failing to constrain the metal element. And so now we may have an overactive lung or large intestine, and the symptoms may show up in that system when really what it needs is more constraint coming from nourishing the liver and creating tonification and increased activity of the liver. Now, I do not diagnose like this because I don't have the knowledge. An acupuncturist or a Chinese medicine practitioner would look at your tongue and your eyes and your skin and feel your pulses and try to get a sense of the whole picture and the points that they would choose to stimulate and the way that they would choose to stimulate those points and the herbs that they would prescribe to you would all be in service to bringing these elements back in balance. I would just like to take this time to say I'm an avid recipient of acupuncture and I love receiving shiatsu and Chinese massage. Here in town, we have working class acupuncture, which is low cost, so easy to get an appointment. I go there probably once a week. It's extremely relaxing. It's really helping me regulate in all the stress that I'm dealing with in my life. I also have two more like one-on-one acupuncturists that I see, because working class is group acupuncture. You're in a recliner and it's safe and it's quiet and you basically mostly fall asleep. I usually do anyway, as opposed to a one-on-one, which is more of like a medical experience for me. And I see Brittany Kessler at Honey Health Acupuncture. She's amazing. She does great body work at the same time. And also I have my Chinese doctor, Dr. Yuping Chin at Golden Needle Acupuncture, who has just been such a lifesaver for me for my joint pains and my tendon problems, because, you know, the work that I do is hard on my joints and tendons. And I credit some of the longevity of my career to the acupuncture and great body work that I've received at these places. So shout out to those people. In addition to our internal chi, there's also external forces that can invade the body. And these are cold, damp, hot, wind, and dryness. And again, coming back to the metaphor of the body as a garden, you can see how any of these things, too much of them, would be very difficult for the garden to thrive. If you take a shade-loving plant and you plant it in the sun's not good for it. It's too much. It's going to dry it out. That plant doesn't have the constitution to withstand full sun all day. If you take a sun-loving plant and you plant it where a fern would thrive, I love ferns, then that sun-loving plant is going to wither. It's going to wilt. It's not going to thrive. So part of it has to do with our environment. Part of it has to do with our makeup, our nature, our constitution, and who we are as individuals. Some people have a very good resistance to cold. We all know that person who walks around all winter wearing shorts. That person has a great resistance to cold. I know lots of folks who love living in the desert. The dryness and the heat don't bother them. I thrive in this damp environment. That's just the way that I am. My genetics, my makeup, who knows? But I love it here. It's wet and cold and chilly, and it makes me feel good, but I don't wear shorts all winter. So that's me, Dr. Russ, and my understanding of Chinese medicine. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Consider becoming a channel member. There's special videos that are members only. In any case, I really appreciate you watching, and I hope you have a great day. This is Dr. Russ.